who needs a little navigation help with that. And I'd also like to begin by acknowledging that we are very privileged as a program to be situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam. This image that you see here is our beautiful campus on these wonderful lands. And our students also engage in their dietetics education all across BC on the unceded lands of many different groups of Indigenous peoples, and each have their own unique identities, histories, traditions, and stories. I wanted to take this opportunity to share a few institution-wide updates with you as well from UBC in general. UBC released its renewed Indigenous strategic plan. It was actually in 2020, and it was just brought to our attention again across UBC as UBC announced that it is devoting up to $4 million in dedicated project funding in 2022 to really support the achievement of the strategic plan. So it's always really helpful to see that there is dedicated money and resources to such an important topic. So a few things that struck me in the plan that I thought might be useful to share with all of you today. There was a really important acknowledgement from UBC that the institution has been and continues to be a colonial institution, and also a deep acknowledgement that teaching and research really has been from a Eurocentric perspective, and that does still prevail. So it was really important that UBC did acknowledge that really honestly and openly. Also, there was acknowledgement that past strategic plans that UBC has had have focused on the creation of programs and initiatives that have been quite limited in scope, and they have not been able to meaningfully address these shifting structures that need to occur to really meaningfully reconcile past and present harms to Indigenous communities. And we thought that this might be of interest for all of you in the dietetics community to read about if you're interested. Many of you are UBC alumni, and certainly as dietitians, there's engagement with UBC since that's where our program is situated. So we're going to share the link to that plan. Ali's already on it. In case you'd like to read it in more detail, there was a lot of really important history and commitment to sharing the truth in that document that I thought might be of interest. So in terms of what we're hoping to achieve today, many of you may have joined our webinars before. I'm just quickly looking at our attendance and definitely seeing some familiar names. So we're going to structure today's time similarly to how we have in the past. It's been really successful. I'm going to spend probably about 20 minutes or so sharing updates with you all on where we're at with several curriculum changes. And then we definitely want to make time for questions that you might have. And as you can see on the slide here, we're going to use the Slido program, which we can direct you to in the Zoom chat as well if you're not familiar with it. It's quite easy to use. At this point, I think most of you have already done this, but for anyone who's just joining, we'd ask that everyone turn off their videos. We've been having a little bit of trouble with the Zoom connection stability, so that's one way that we can help optimize our connection. So I'll just keep my video on as I'm presenting, and some of my teammates might do so also. But for all of our attendees, that might help us all have the best connection here and prevent any issues. If you are experiencing any issues, you can put a little note in the Zoom chat box. My colleague Ali Browse is going to be monitoring the Zoom chat box. We won't use the Zoom chat box for any questions. We'll direct those over to Slido. We found that's really successful just so that it's not distracting to anyone as we're going through the presentation. I hope all of that is clear, but if not, Ali can field any questions you might have in the Zoom chat box as we go here. We thank you for helping us out with that. So I've been mentioning some names of my team members, but recognizing that you might not on the Zoom today know all of us. This is our wonderful team, and we've definitely grown in size over the years, which is really exciting. So all of my teammates are here with us today on the Zoom, and you can see all of our photos here. We're really thrilled to announce our newest team member, Xinyan Fan, who is our dietetics program assistant. We're just delighted that he's joined our team, and we've already well integrated him into many of the things we're doing in the program. You can see all of our email addresses are up here as well. You're welcome to contact any of us. We all take on different program management roles and teaching roles. So if you're not totally sure who to reach out to, feel free to reach out to any of us.
5 minutes ago, yeah.
And I'll just pause for a moment. Oh, I think somebody who was unmuted just muted themselves. So no need to intervene. We shall continue. So we've been working on a lot of very exciting things, and this snapshot, I think, captures the different domains of changes that we've been undertaking. So I'm going to organize the rest of my presentation today in these 3 general domains. I'll start by sharing with you some things that we're doing that really sort of fit the overall program, and then I'll move on to talk to you specifically about some of the campus course things that we're doing, and of course, some changes in the practice education part of our program. We're really, really excited to share this slide with you. I hope that the text is clear for all of you on your various screens that you're viewing. We've spent a lot of time doing some deep thinking about where we want to go in the future with the program in terms of our vision for the program, really refining the mission that we have as a dietetics education program. And we've now also really articulated what our set of values are that really guide all of the decision making in the program. The previous version of our vision and mission and program objectives were getting a little bit old. They're from 2014. So this just felt like the perfect time for us to do that deep thinking around where we want to take the program in the future. And we're really, really excited to be sharing this with you today. We're doing a pretty major revamp of our website right now, which we're hoping to reveal in the coming months. So this definitely will be pride of place on the website so that we can really remain accountable to these values and the vision and the mission that we're hoping to achieve now and over time. So it's something we're really excited to share with you today. In terms of the overall program, there definitely are several things that have tentacles into everything that we do, whether it's teaching or certain policy decisions that we're making. So I've attempted to simplify that on the slide for you here in terms of the things that we've been undertaking, which really will have an impact on everything we do as a program. These are big things, so to really just have one image to completely explain how we're approaching these topics maybe doesn't quite do it justice, but I'll make an attempt right now to talk you through some of the big picture things that we've been working on in the program. Some of them I've mentioned in our previous webinars as well. So to start off by sharing where we're going with our work related to equity, diversity, and inclusion, we've been really, really lucky to have the resources to work with 2 consultants this year. One of the contracts has been fully completed with one of our consultants, and the other one is a bit more of an ongoing type of work. So the one that was just completed is a comprehensive equity audit, which really looked at all different domains of what we're doing as a program, which was incredibly useful for us. So that was wrapped up in July, and we're just going through the process of coming together as a team to really digest what those recommendations were, work on a prioritization exercise so that we can really move forward in a meaningful way to implementing the series of recommendations. Some of them are definitely very large in scope and will take a really long time to really meaningfully achieve. Not to say that they're not important to us, but just to be transparent that some things might feel like they're taking a long time. And some things we're really pleased that we've already been working on or we've been able to take some action right away. So that's all feeling very energizing and a tad overwhelming to us, but we're working our way through. So you'll hear me talking about some of those things as we go through the webinar today. And of course, if you have specific questions, we'd love to hear from you when we get to the Slido portion. Another big piece of work that's been really energizing, but also a little overwhelming is, for those of you who aren't aware, our national body that oversees dietetics education for the whole country has released a new version of the national competencies, also known as ICDEP, which I have there in brackets. So we've taken some time this summer. We had a wonderful dietetic student working with us, Yasmin, who really spearheaded this work with us. And we've mapped out every single new performance indicator against all of our courses and our practice education to really assess where we are already meeting the new competencies and performance indicators and where we need to fill some gaps. So that felt really satisfying to be able to complete that mapping exercise this summer. And we'll be carrying through that work to really ensure that we are able to fully meet all of the new competencies and performance indicators. And the deadline from our national body on that we have to have that work done is not until August 31st, 2023. So we definitely have some time, but a lot of these things to do them well really take a lot of planning and advanced thinking. So we're definitely not going to leave that. We're going to make sure that we keep engaging with that work to make sure that we have a strong articulation of all of those competencies by 2023. So that's been incredibly exciting that we were able to do that this summer. And then the third item I have here, maybe one that doesn't catch everyone's eye right away, but definitely an important topic. We have a set of program policies that guide the approaches that we take to many decisions in the program. And so we thought this was a really wonderful opportunity, and our equity consultant also identified this for us. Thought that it was a really good time to relook at all of our policies. Some of them no longer are relevant, or some of them actually are quite harmful from an equity lens. So we are taking the time to revamp and revise and really rewrite all of those policies. So we've already been able to rewrite some of them, and we'll be incrementally putting them up on our website as we are able to review them and rewrite them. And alongside that, we are also really recognizing that we are craving a more inclusive process to actually invite feedback on our policies and procedures. So we have had some committees that have helped us with that over time, but we do recognize that we definitely could be more inclusive and more transparent in how we approach policy writing, because they are quite important. They do inform a lot of the decisions we make in the program. So we are just thinking through exactly how we want to design that process. And luckily, there are some other good precedents at UBC. There's lots of other policy feedback processes that we can model off of. So stay tuned for where we're going to go with that, but we will be seeking to invite broad feedback on these new policies as we develop them over the coming years. So on the note of rethinking and really striving to be more inclusive and more equity focused, we're really excited to share more details with you around advisory committees that we're going to be pursuing for the program. We've always had committees, and we've really valued that engagement with students and with our professional partners. But again, it was a bit of a time for a rethink on how we can really change the committees that we're using right now to ensure that going forward, we have a more inclusive process to invite members to our committees. And one thing that we're going to be implementing, which is a bit of a best practice, is we're going to be having time limited terms for our committees. So quite similar to committees you might have been a part of yourself or seen other places, committee terms that would be 2 or 3 years for each member, so that we're not asking people to join a committee and be on it forever. It really hopefully will make it a lot more manageable for anyone who might want to be involved, but also just ensure that we can refresh our membership and allow more people to be involved over time, which we think will really lend itself well to hopefully being a bit more of an inclusive structure. So again, we're working on the details. You can see the general kind of areas that we're going to focus these committees on. We've always had an admissions committee, but again, we're going to be rethinking the one that we have right now. But admissions is obviously a really important part of the program that we really crave broad consultation on. We're going to be starting a campus curriculum committee, which is new. Again, it's something that happens other places around the university that we've been inspired by, and we're hopeful that it'll give us a bit more of a routine way to make sure that we're really reflecting and revising all of our campus courses on a more of a regular, proactive schedule versus just dealing with issues as they arise. So we're excited about that. And then practice education, again, is a bit of an evolution of different committees that we've had over the years. So again, we'll probably be leveraging a lot of the successes we've had with practice education focused committees in the past. So that's the general plan. And in terms of sharing some details with you of how this is going to come together. So right now, I'm taking the lead on this piece of work for our team. We are developing some specific terms of reference for these new committees, and our equity consultant was really helpful in giving us some guidance and provided some drafts for us to ensure that these new committees will fit with our values and really seek to be as inclusive as possible. And then in 2022, and we haven't decided on the exact timeline yet, that's when we're going to be communicating more formally with all of you in our dietetics community to invite expressions of interest for these new committees. And our hope is that there are 3 committees, as you can see on the slide, that we would stagger the launch of these just to make it a little bit more feasible for us to run them. But our hope is that we'll be able to launch all 3 of these over the 2022-23 academic year. So that would be between September 2022 and May, June 2023. So again, we've got a little bit of time to really thoughtfully plan these details, because our hope is that we can really launch something that's going to be sustainable for anyone who's committing to be on these committees, and also for us as a program team as well. So definitely stay tuned for more details as we do the next steps of planning that out. I also just wanted to take a moment to deeply thank all of our committee members. Many of you I can see on our line today have been part of our committees for a long time. Really wanted to thank you for your contributions. You've left such a positive mark on the program over the years, and we hope to see many of you continue to want to be involved. So that concludes the overall program section of what I wanted to share with you today. So I just have one slide that consolidates the campus course section. It's a little bit busy, so I'm going to talk you through here what we're doing with the campus courses. And I will say that review and revision of campus courses is never really done. There's a constant scanning of the horizon, and we've had a longstanding process which has been really rich to seek feedback annually from students and our practice community. So that's something we really intend to continue doing through this time of change. And then our hope is that once we get the campus curriculum committee really off the ground, that will be like a concrete place where we can continue to talk through needed changes for all of our campus courses that we expect to be ongoing. A few recent things to share with you that I've noted for you on the slide here. So in June of this year, we pulled together what I want to say as a little bit of a mini retreat with our nutrition care professional practice course instructors to ensure that we're really aligned on contemporary topics in the profession, such as trauma-informed care, weight bias and stigma, systemic racism. These are big topics, and they really need to be well implemented across many courses, not just situated in one course. So we had a really great conversation across those courses with our small group of instructors of how we're all planning to ensure that the content is aligned across those courses for students. Again, there'll need to be many more conversations to really truly achieve that, but it was a really energizing first step that we were able to have that conversation together. And then, as you can see here, moving along the circle here, in fall, which is right now, we are actively planning for 2 new courses in the curriculum, a brand new year 3 course in nutrition care. So for those of you who are less familiar with how the program's structured, our dietetic students enter in year 3, and historically they've had 2 nutrition care courses in their 4th year. So we've now added a 3rd nutrition care course into the 3rd year, which has been a long-standing need. So we're really excited that students will get more time to really dive into nutrition care while they're on campus. So that course is being developed right now. It's going to start for the first time in January. And similarly, we're actively planning a new counseling course, which is really, really exciting. Another long-standing need that we were finally able to address with the new course. So that's also going to start for the first time in January, as you can see here on this slide. So this is an intense period of planning that we're going through right now, which is really exciting. And then working all the way around this image here, of course, as I mentioned, this work is never done. So after the first launch of these 2 new courses, we're quite sure that there'll be lots that we can reflect on and improve upon. So we're just coming up with some ideas around how we want to really evaluate those courses. UBC does have some methods as well that we can draw upon, which is really helpful. So definitely the cycle will continue here, and I'm sure you'll see a similar slide at the next webinar we do in terms of the cyclical process of these campus changes, but we're quite excited about them. I'm going to finish up by telling you a few things about what we're doing with practice education. So for those of you who might have joined our webinar in June, this is actually the same slide. You might recognize it, where we shared with our community what we're moving towards in terms of restructuring of our practice education. So this is, in a snapshot, what the practice education experience is going to look like in the program as of 2022. And we're actively working on implementing all the various bits and pieces to shift our practice education, which right now occurs all in year 5 of the program, to split it over 3 years of the program so that students will have practice education throughout their whole degree. So to really put this into context for you of how we're going to do this, I thought I would take you on a journey of what each cohort of our students is going to be experiencing this year as a way to hopefully make sense of it all. So I wanted to share first our class of 2022. And I will say, you can probably tell that these are quite beautiful stock images. We realized that due to COVID, some of our students actually haven't been all together on campus yet, which is so sad. We usually have a beautiful end of professional practice course picture outside in our courtyard. So as I was putting these slides together, I realized that we haven't actually quite gotten to that for each of our cohorts. So that's certainly a goal I hope we can achieve by the time everyone graduates, is that we can have their picture of them all together in the courtyard. So that aside, I digress. Our class of 2022, they are currently doing year 5. They just started this month, and they will be completing their year 5 practice education placements from now until early June. June 10th is the final day of year 5. And these students will be doing, I guess, what one might be referring to as our model that we've had in place for a long time. So the students will be doing their placements. They're within a health authority core site. And we have our wonderful partners out at the health authorities who really help us coordinate and schedule all of those placements. We are so thankful for that support. It is not a small job. And a little bit of a change this year for some of you who may have been involved in research before is that we have shifted the approach to the research this year, which is something we're piloting this year with the intention of doing something similar for future years. So students will be completing small scale research projects within their management module. So depending on exactly where students are scheduled, those projects might be anywhere from 4 weeks to 8 weeks in length, and they will be contained within those placements. And we are doing some sessions this year for students just to really ensure that everyone feels supported, because this is a little bit of a change from what we've done in the past, but we hope that it'll be a really feasible and successful experience. So our class of 2023, so these are our students who are currently completing year 4. So they are in their final year of coursework. So one might consider them our seasoned dietetic students now. They've gone from their first year in our program to their second and final campus year of the program. So this class of students is going to begin their practice education in September 2022, so essentially a year from now. And this group of students is going to complete 6 placements, and they're going to be 6 weeks each, so 6 by 6. So that's going to take the year from September to June. So the timeline is going to be fairly similar for practice education for the class of 2023, but the structure is just going to be a bit different. And the big shift that we're undertaking is that we're going to be moving to us as a UBC educator team, seeking and coordinating those placements. And so we are just finalizing our timelines now. We recognize we need to do a lot of this planning in advance, even though this is a year away. So we anticipate that we will be connecting with our community to seek placements probably between January to March of 2022. So coming up pretty quickly. So we'll be in touch around pulling all of those arrangements together. And then our final class that's in the program right now is our year 3. So I'm not sure if anyone's actually with us today from this class, but a welcome to the program to everyone. For anyone who's interested, we are doing mostly in-person classes right now. There's a little bit of a hybrid approach depending on each course, but that's a big shift from last year when classes were all completely online. So we're really excited to welcome our newest years 3 to the program. And we are actively into planning for the very first placement for this class, which will occur in May of 2022, as you can see here. So that will be one placement. It'll be 6 weeks in length in one place, and it'll be an introduction to nutrition care. So we're really just crafting the expectations and the syllabus so that it's really clear to students and to their preceptors what the expectations will be for that introductory experience, since this will be quite a shift from how we've done practice education before, where students are entering when they're finished all of their coursework. We do recognize that that is different, and that we need to provide that support to make it successful. So some other details to share since we last had our webinar on how this experience will run is our educator team. So the slide that I showed at the beginning, myself, Gordon, Ali, and Tamar, we're going to be acting as the co-instructors for this course. And our intention is to divide the class of students into small cohorts. So there'll be about 9 or 10 students that each of us as educators will be working with. And our intention is that that will provide much more hands-on support to help students with any issues that might come up. We'll also be much more able to support you as preceptors because we'll be sort of dividing and conquering a little bit with our time. So that will be hopefully more available to everyone. So some other programs do that in our allied health professions, and some other dietetics programs do that as well. And from what we've heard, it works really well. So we are quite excited to try that for the first time in 2022. And again, if you have more questions, we're happy to talk through where we're at right now. We understand that there's many more details that need to be planned between now and May. So we're actively working on that right now. One thing I think most people will probably be quite excited to hear is that we're working on a much shorter evaluation form and process, because that's certainly been highlighted to us over the years as a real barrier for students and for preceptors, the length and complexity of our current evaluation form. So we're very excited to let you know that we're working on something that we hope will be much more meaningful and will take less time for everyone. So those are some highlights of where we're at with our class of 2024. And those placements will be rolling out first in our new model. So we're focusing a lot of time and energy into planning that right now. So that lends itself very well to my final slide here to really share with you. This is also the same slide I shared in June for any of you who joined us. We are at the time now where we're ready to seek placements and preceptors for that first May placement in 2022. So we wanted to just let you know that today. We're going to be sending out an email to all of our various networks next week. It's a very simple survey that we've put together just for any of you out there to express your interest. If this is something that you'd like to be involved in. The details, as you can see, are here. We are seeking those placements for a specific time period. So being available from May 16th to June 24th is pretty important for this particular placement. And students will be placed in pairs. And just rest assured that we'll be really setting that up well ahead of time and planning for how students can work together on something so that it's not too overwhelming for preceptors. So that is something that will be unique to this experience. And really, we're seeking preceptors who work in all different kinds of areas. It isn't a barrier if you only work in a certain type of nutrition care setting. So I've listed out several areas that could definitely be appropriate. Again, we're really focusing on a lot of introductory type skills around communication, just really basic talking to patients, clients, teammates, assessment skills, and teamwork. So those things can all be achieved in a lot of different placement settings. So we'd love to hear from you if you're in all kinds of areas of practice and you're thinking that you might be interested. So that will be what we're going to be calling out for next week. And then we're going to be spending some time really doing whatever necessary arrangements come out of that to coordinate with certain, site-specific processes, whether that be entering placements into software systems or connecting with managers. We're really going to be focusing on sorting those details well in advance so that everything hopefully runs smoothly. So again, if there are questions you're thinking about right now, we're essentially at the end of my piece. I just wanted to let you know on this last slide here that we really have enjoyed these webinars. We've had great attendance, and today we have great attendance as well. So we definitely plan to continue to do these webinar updates every couple of months. We just haven't chosen dates yet. So stay tuned for that. And with that, I'm going to stop my screen share and